Is it live? Is it live? Hello, everybody. I've got to say, before I get started doing this first YouTube live, that back interface that you use to do a YouTube live could not be more complicated. So I have no idea if you can even hear this or see this or anything. Every month, I thought I would do a live Q&A where people can obviously ask me questions if they're watching this live, but also I can answer some of the questions that people are sending to me directly, and also some of the things that people are putting in the comments as well. Most of the content that I am delivering at the moment is aligned to online presenting because that is the world we're living in. But there's so many other tips and things that I can give you. I don't want to upload videos that kind of aren't making sense and that are all over the place in terms of subject. So I thought the Q&A would be really good to answer some of those very popular questions that I'm getting. So the first question that I get a lot of the time is, where did I get my knowledge from, and where does my experience come from? And to answer that question, probably just simply, is I've got 20 years, well, got over 20 years experience working in the communications industry. So what does that even mean? I've produced conferences, live events, global product launches, global award shows for companies all over the world. So I've worked globally, and primarily that involves not only producing the event, but also creating content as well. So I have created content for a lot of corporate customers, corporate clients, when it comes to presentations and things like that. And that's why I started doing training, because a client that I was working with really enjoyed the way that I would produce a show, how much emphasis I put into production and to rehearsal and things. And they asked me to create a course about how to be a better communicator for their leadership team. And I did that a long, long time ago, and just got asked by other clients basically to do the same thing. So I've got a lot of experience in production, a lot of experience in communications, and a lot of experience in creating speaker content and in training people. But this is important, but I'm not a trainer. So I didn't go to training school. I have no training qualifications. Somebody asked me the other day, what training qualifications have you got? And I was like, I know. 22 years experience. Like, I don't have a certificate or anything that says I'm a trainer. So I got all of my experience, all of my training comes from experience. So what I do when I'm working with speakers or when I'm working with teams of people is I'm basically just sharing all the knowledge of what I know works and what I have done for years. So that's what I do. Incidentally, if you are watching and you have a question, then please just ask. The other question that I'm getting all the time is, can I create a technical video about how to host an online meeting? The problem with that is it is in the works, but firstly, it kind of depends what platform that you're using. Now, most of my videos are about Zoom because I tend to use Zoom, but I also use Teams a lot, and increasingly I'm using that with more and more clients now. So I will create that video. I think what I'm going to do is work with my colleague, Simon, and I work with Simon whenever I'm presenting at an event. So yesterday I was doing a keynote presentation for a few companies, and I would always use Simon to help me with that. And Simon is kind of like a virtual production manager. So he's technically managing the stream, managing the videos and all of that stuff. So I might get Simon involved in a couple of videos and do a kind of walkthrough on technically how to host an online meeting. A lot of people are asking as well about playing video within your presentation if you're presenting online. And it is tricky. It's really tricky. And unfortunately, so much of this stuff is down to bandwidth. It's one of those things that you can't control. And when I'm working with presenters, I'll often say if they're creating the content is you don't want to overcomplicate it to a degree where you're getting into territory where something can go wrong and you have no control over it. So video is tricky because it tends to buffer, and it totally just depends in terms of quality what your audience are going to get. It just depends what their bandwidth is, really. So video can be tricky to do. I'd always, if it's something that you have the ability to do, if you have, say, a corporate video, you're probably looking at something that's very high quality, and you basically want to render it down. You want the quality that you are pushing out via your stream to your audience to really be as low as it can get away with being. Therefore, you've got more chance of your audience being able to see it and it not buffering. So I will cover video when it comes to those YouTube videos that I'd like to make with my colleague. Hi, Aman. Thank you for watching. So that's that. A technical video is coming. I know people want it. It's one of those things, like when you start looking at how to technically do an online meeting and an online presentation, it's like a can of worms. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger in terms of what you can say. Can of worms. That's probably a British phrase. Can of worms. What do I mean? Basically, there are loads of things that you need to bear in mind technically when you are hosting or delivering an online presentation. It's coming. It's coming. The other question that I receive a lot is the best equipment to use. Personally, I don't really think there is any best equipment to use if you're not doing this professionally. I list in my description of all of my videos what equipment I use. I could do a video to show what equipment I use, but in all honesty, most of the equipment that you can get via Amazon works absolutely fine. I do what anyone else does and check out the reviews. And obviously you want to use equipment that is easy to use. You're not having to do anything too tricky to make it work. My biggest bit of advice at the moment, especially in the UK, where we're going into winter, is to invest in a good light source. So I might do a video where I actually show my setup. So the setup that I would use if I'm doing any keynote presentations, because on that I could show you some of the lights that I use that really, really do make a difference when it comes to presenting online. But in terms of the best equipment to get, if you want to just get equipment that you know works, then you can have a look in my description of my videos. But in general, you need a good light source, so I get a soft light for that. I wouldn't worry too much about a camera. Most of the cameras on the laptops are good. And an external microphone is really handy. The one I use is linked below. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't overcomplicate it. One of the problems when it comes to online presenting is if you do overcomplicate your technical setup too much, not only are you the presenter, but you are also your own technical production manager as well. So it can get really tricky. So I try and keep it as simple as possible if I were you. Or invest in a vision mixer, many of whom are working online at the moment to help presenters. So that would be my advice. Hi, Emil, how are you? Hi, Fred. Hi, Anvi. So how do you become a professional speaker? Well, I think there are several ways that you can do it. I suppose my best advice is you need to have something that you can give the audience, like a gift of knowledge, a gift of challenging maybe the way they think. It can't be about you, I suppose, is what I'm getting at. So what a lot of people say to me is, I want to do this. I want to tell my story. And that's great. But if it doesn't give the audience anything, if it doesn't give them advice that they can will then change the way they view something, or if it doesn't give them the gift of knowledge where they can go away and action something that they would never have thought to do before, then it's more self-fulfilling for the presenter than it is the audience. So I think if you're going to do it professionally, you have to have something that you can give the audience. So I suppose from my point of view, when I am asked to do keynotes and am paid to do things like I did yesterday, I'm giving the audience a lot of information on how to be a better speaker. So there's a good transaction there. So you need to find something that you're giving the audience. I think, Emil, the other thing that you can do is you need to have some sort of presence, whether that's online. You need to have a book isn't essential, but something that you can use to showcase the fact that you are somebody who knows a lot about the field that you're talking about. So blogs are really good. Anything that you can show for online, a YouTube channel, so anything like that can help as well. And I think another bit of advice when it comes to being a professional presenter is getting out there and gaining experience. So one of the things that you can do if you are a speaker and you have a story to tell and a great presentation that gives the audience a really good takeaway is you can start contacting agencies, or you could search for lots of events in your local area that are now online, and you could contact them directly and say, look, I've got this presentation that I think would work really well in your event, and do you know what, I'll do it for free. Which sounds crazy, but just by doing that a few times, you're going to get some really good feedback, some really good recommendations. You can obviously record yourself doing it and use that for promotional stuff when you're contacting other people. Those audiences will hopefully tell other people that they've seen you. So that's another way of becoming a professional presenter. But that question, I mean, I could do a course on that, I think. So, I mean, if that's something that more people want to find out about, then I would definitely make some videos on that, but those would be my main tips. Your video is very helpful for me. Zoom presentation was tough. Oh, Anvi, I'm really sorry. My pronunciation is terrible. Avni? I hope your presentation went well. And if it did, what are you saying? Zoom presentation was tough, but it helped a lot. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased that the tips help. Presenting online is really tough, guys. Like, it's so difficult. You don't get any interaction back. Things can go wrong. It's tricky. People who think it's easy because they totally forget that there is an audience on the other end. But I just want to say something about presenting online. Only because I've just finished some training where I was saying this same thing. At the moment, the quality bar for online communication, for online presentations, for online meetings, it is so low. Like, people log in and they think this is going to be shit. They think this is going to be bad. And that's because people are forgetting there is an audience at the other end of that laptop. So all you need to do is just raise the bar slightly, put more effort into it, put some fun ideas in here and there, and already the audience will think, wow, that is so much better than the majority of the crap that I have to watch. So the quality bar is low. It's a great opportunity for all of you to make a massive difference and showcase yourselves and be known as a great online communicator. So I think it's a really exciting time, and I'm really, really pleased that the tips have helped. Oh, fantastic. Vibo Touch. I did my presentation on Tuesday and it went very well, and it's all thanks to me. It's not just thanks to me, it's thanks to you for watching and also for putting in the effort. And I don't know about you, but the presentation that I did yesterday, I worked really hard on. I do as I say. I put a lot of planning and preparation into the stuff that I do. And when it came to actually going live, I still felt that rush of adrenaline because, you know, everything's about to start. But I was so excited about it as well. And that feeling of knowing you have done a good job, there's nothing like it. Like the confidence boost that gives you is incredible. So I am so, so pleased that it went well. Man, I'm sorry, are you having a problem watching? I'm really sorry if you're, incidentally, if you are having a problem watching this, it will be better next time. This is the first live that I've done on YouTube. And if you weren't watching at the start, the interface, the back end interface of this thing is so tricky. So I'm really sorry if you're having problems watching. I hope that it will be better next time. How do you price your presentation? That is interesting at the moment. And that is a good question because in a previous life, when I was asked to do a keynote and I'd have to normally travel there and it would take a whole day out of my time, that was quite a different price to what I price now. What I would say is when you are pricing your presentation, make sure you bear in mind how much pre-production, how much planning, and how much creation you're going to have to do around your presentation because, important point, every time you do your keynote, even if you're telling the same story, you should have to do a little bit of pre-production on it. So even if you're telling the same story time and time again, so it's roughly the same presentation. Let's take a TEDx talk, for example. Say you do a TEDx talk and then you decide to take that talk and tour with it. In my opinion, everything you do has to be for the audience at that moment in time. So whenever you're asked to do a keynote, you should be asking a lot of questions about the audience, and that in itself may mean that you have to make subtle changes to your presentation or definitely have a different intro, for example. So there'll be an element of pre-production and you need to plan that into your cost as well. What I would do is work out what your daily rate is. So what you would charge yourself out for a day. And then say, for instance, the keynote is just half an hour that you're doing online. I would always charge your time as half a day because you can justify that by saying, well, I need to set up, I need to do technical runs, rehearsals, that kind of thing. And then I would probably charge another day of your time so that, again, you can rehearse it, but also align it to that specific audience. So it's quite a big answer, but that's how I would charge your time out. Cool. Yeah, I would definitely contact companies. It's a really, really good way to get onto like the paid speaker circuit. And also another thing for everybody, even if you haven't got a story, or if you haven't got, when I say story, what I'm talking about is like a TEDx talk. So say you haven't got that, but you still want to be a speaker. There's a great opportunity right now to be an MC. An MC is a master of ceremonies. It's the person who links everything. So you're the person, you know, every country. Let's take something that's kind of universal. Oh God, American Idol, you know, that's set up. There's always a host who is linking everything. So welcomes everyone back, introduces the next act, thanks them, introduces the next thing. So that's what I mean by MC. You can also, if you find an event that is happening locally to you, or you see something online, LinkedIn and Facebook are full of them at the minute, you could contact that organizer and say, I am a public speaker, or I'm just starting out as a public speaker, and I would love to host or MC your event if you need somebody to link everything together. And again, I'm willing to do it for free because that's the way to get into it initially. Or it's a good way to get into it if you haven't got a book or haven't got other things like that. And that's another great piece of experience to get. And it's another kind of string to add to your bow. So something else that you can say that you do. So yeah, that's another thing that you can do to get into the public speaker circuit. Just going to see now on these. honestly, the live on this thing is just, it doesn't feel like it's user friendly. Again, the reason that I'm having this issue is because normally when I do stuff like this, I always have a colleague who does it all for me. But one of the things I've said at the moment in this world that we're living in, I want to acquire some new skills. So I was like, no, I will do it. I will figure it out myself because I need to do it. So I apologize if this is a bit choppy and all over the place. Oh, okay, that's a good. Do you know what? I've heard of that, Emil. I might try that. Okay, I will give StreamYard a go. There's so many different streaming services available at the minute. That's another point, actually. I've been contacted by quite a few companies about promoting different things, and one of them was a streaming service. It's tricky, all of that. I don't really know. I'm basically just doing all this blind, all this YouTube stuff. I don't not entirely sure how all that stuff works. I should maybe scope some of that out, because there were a couple of apps actually that you guys might find useful, which were about improving your speaker skills. So I will look into that. And I'm just aware of the time and the fact that I may be waffling now. So I just want to, the other question that I got asked was, can I tell you about the best online presentation that I have seen? And without wanting to sound like a complete idiot, the best presentation that I have seen is actually one of my presentations, because I honestly believe that in general, what I have seen online is pretty woeful. Now, saying that, I don't watch a lot of professional presentations. What I watch and what I do every day is work with companies who are sending out content online and delivering content online. So it's a very prejudiced, opinionated point of view. Professionally, some of the great stuff I've seen, I saw a brilliant book tour that Matthew McConaughey did. So professionally wise, like really professionally wise, I have seen some good stuff. So, but in general, in businesses, I haven't. I'm yet to be that impressed. The ICUP method, Matthew. I'm sorry to sound like a complete moron, but what does that? What's that abbreviation mean? If you let me know, I can answer it. I'm sure it must be something about it, the remembering technique. If it is about that, again, that's something that I've just been talking to a presenter about. I think when it comes to remembering your presentation, you should always remember the opening and the close, because the opening is the first impression. It's the moment your audience sees you for the first time. Those first things that come out of your mouth, they are going to make an impression on the audience. So the opening is really important. The close is really important because it's the final thing they'll remember. So opening and close is important. And then you'd have seen me talking about these before, but I cannot, and I can grab these to hand because they're always at my desk. I cannot talk highly enough about these things. These are brilliant cue cards, and I don't know why more people don't use them. If professional presenters on live television use these all the time, believe me, I've worked with lots of them. They always use them. They're fantastic. A cue card is brilliant. The key thing with a cue card is you can only write 3 bullet points. You can't write lengthy stuff, so just 3 bullet points. And really, because you've done so much planning and preparation, they're really just to jog your memory, if you like. Here's the important part about a cue card. Always make sure you number them. So always make sure there's a number, because if you have 15 of these and you drop them, or you're faffing around with them before you go on stage, you'll get all muddled up. But yeah, cue cards are great to remember. ICUP. Yeah, do you know what as well? I think that's, people are logging in and logging out at different times. But I said at the start, and I'll say it again, I'm not a trainer. I didn't go to training school. There's lots of people, coaches that have, and that's great. But all of my learnings and the teachings that I'm sharing with you are from my experience. So 22 years experience. And what I have got experience in that is unlike a lot of people is because I've worked for a long time in live events. There are times where I see a speaker who's struggling, or I see a speaker who's having a panic, or whose content is just not landing. And I have to be able to make a difference almost instantly before we start. So a lot of the tips and things that I can give you are things that will make an immediate difference. So that is why I'm not ultra familiar with some of the public speaking terminology. But yeah, that tip I just said about the cue cards is like a no-brainer for remembering content. I'm going to stop there because one of the things that I am aware of is I do waffle. So I don't want this to run over too much and to find that everybody is tuned out. Every month, I'm going to do one of these where I just jump on, do a live, answer any questions that have come up from the videos that I've uploaded that month. And yeah, I enjoyed this. It was good. And thank you so much for those of you who tuned in and who asked questions. And thank you to all of you for watching my videos, and thank you for subscribing and everything. It means a lot. And I really, really enjoy, you know, sharing this learning with you. So any questions at all about anything to do with public speaking, then please do let me know and I'll create content for you. But yeah, that's it from me today. I hope you are staying safe wherever you are. I hope that this channel is something positive that you can come to at this time and work on your craft as being a great communicator and improving your skill set. And I hope you have a great end to the day, beginning of the day, wherever you are. And I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much for watching.